Thank you for being here. How many of you, this is your first Founders Blend meeting? Awesome. Well, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. My name is Sammy Steele Thomas, and I am with Midland Development Corporation. And Founders Blend is something that we started alongside Midland College, aka why it's here, UT Permian Basin. That's where we've had some of our previous meetings, Second Story Coworking, BAM Consulting, Midland Chamber of Commerce, and it's just been really a team effort. We noticed that when we were talking to small businesses, that running a business can be really hard, and it can be kind of isolated and difficult to navigate because it's your full-time job and you don't really know what that experience is like until you're that entrepreneur. And it's not just a job that you can, turn off when you go home. It becomes part of who you are. And so we wanted Founders Blend to be a space where entrepreneurs can get together and ask questions. Okay, how do you balance growing your business, but also having a growing family? How do you manage going through the permitting process? How do you manage where to find a location, because real estate can be tricky? All of those questions. And so you're going to hear from two businesses this morning, and after they give a little presentation, we will have 20 minutes or so for Q&A. And so as you listen to these presentations, be thinking, oh, they said something that actually that sounds really similar to what I'm dealing with. And be intentional with that time and those questions, and you'll get the most out of what you put into this. And we really just appreciate you guys coming. Before we get started here, we are going to have you, if this is your first meeting, if you wouldn't mind scanning this QR code real quick, and you can just pull it up on your phone. And this way we can just have you in our email loops moving forward. But before we get started, so like I said, this is a team effort. It takes a lot of community partners here. But I want to thank, in particular, we had coffee and food this morning, and that was all thanks to Shelby Technology Solutions. Thank you so much, Kat. We really appreciate it. If you guys, this is your first meeting, every single meeting we have a different small business or small businesses who sponsor the coffee and the food. It's just another way to give those small entrepreneurs exposure and a way to share with the audience what they do. So like I said, you're going to hear from two local businesses today, Head Above Water and Energy City Bikes. And the first business you're going to hear from is Energy City Bikes. And before we get started, here's some background on Energy City Bikes. It's a group of Midlanders that are passionate about cycling and working to grow the bike culture in Midland. They opened a business that they hope will foster community and relationships all around a healthy lifestyle. This business also happens to have 10 founders behind it. Well, you're going to hear from 4 of them today. So without further ado, Energy City Bikes.
All right. We want to start off by thanking y'all for having us here today. It's quite a privilege to get to come and speak and be a part of the local business community. Most of the guys that are part of the bike shop have never been in the retail space before. So this is something that's new for us. We're really excited about it, and we have a whole lot to learn. We figured that out as we've kind of started working our way through that. So we'll talk a little bit about that journey today, and then Energy City Bikes and what we set up and what we intend to do. So Energy City Bikes, we're a locally owned full service bike shop, and the basis of Energy City Bikes is community and service, and it's built around quality products. So, like that being said, we have a little over 5,000 square feet over in the Commons, and we actually do have a whole lot of a pretty big team of people that started this business. So we're going to start off by talking about that a little bit. We have Landy Atkins over here. Landy is a 20-year plus bicycle mechanic. When you think of bicycle repair in Midland, most people think of Landy. He's really well known. He's a fireman here in town. Been around the community for a long time, and he's a big asset to the team. We also have Oscar Salazar. Oscar's been on the cutting edge of bike technology for 10 years. He builds custom wheel sets. He's been an avid cyclist, but he also works at a family business. He is definitely an entrepreneur. He has more irons in the fire than most people ever even know or could juggle. So then we have Seth Kinney. Seth is kind of the business mind behind this. He set up all the LLC. He's done all the footwork. To get us to doors open, Seth has put a ton of time and effort. He is the business guy behind the partnership. We also have Zach Jones, Ken Beatty, Steve Beatty, and myself are part of the ownership group, the team that started it. So what we put together is a community-focused business that we hope will sell bikes and be able to serve the community. So inside the shop, oh, there we go. Inside the shop, we actually have a community area where people can come and hang out. You can start a ride there or you can end a ride from there. You can also come in, learn about the cycling and fitness community. Anybody from a little strider bike, your very first bike getting started off, to the person looking for the high-end, fastest road bike that specializes, supposed to be the fastest one yet. You can come and we can help you with that. So the whole spectrum. But the whole deal is, for us, can we go back one slide, is our purpose statement. This is why we're here. This is why we started the business. And that's to provide high quality service, give hospitality to everyone, and build up the cycling and fitness community around quality products. But the whole basis of it is building community and providing service. I'm a Midlander. I grew up out here. Actually been here almost my whole life, which is kind of odd. Always worked in the oil and gas industry. But having something that is Midland based and for the community, by the community, was a big deal to us. We have Trek in Midland. Trek makes great products. It's the old Peyton's. And Peyton's was a community bike shop. It was actually the longest running bike shop in Texas. It's 50 plus years. And they're not here anymore. So we saw that need for a community. You know, Trek's a corporate store. They do have great products. We're friends with Sebastian that runs it. So the Midland cycling community is larger than most people think, but also it's able to support multiple businesses. So we wanted to fill that niche and be the community piece of it. Some of the ways that we got started, Landy had a mobile bike repair service, Broken Spoke. So when Landy came to be a part of the team, Broken Spoke came to be a part of that also. And then there was another local bike shop here in town, Buffalo Burrs, and we purchased them as we were getting started. So that gave us a basis on our product line and some inventory. And also, Midland's only going to be able to support so many shops. So that being said, it's plenty big to support Trek ourselves. So we're hoping that works out. So kind of the business basis of Energy City Bikes was Buffalo Burrs, Broken Spoke, and then the concept that we put together. So we'll go on to the last slide here. So here we are over in the Commons. We're in the old Banana Republic space. We're a little over 5,000 square feet of showroom and service bay. And we have a couple of things that make our shop unique from actually other bike shops, and especially bike shops here in town. We have an indoor bike wash. So if you want to have your bike washed, detailed, when you bring it in for service, we'll clean it up and we can do that inside. So you don't have to drag it outside. Like today, nobody's going to want to get the bike cleaned. But you can come in the shop and do that. And it's also a space where if you want to come wash your bike, if you want to start a ride from there, finish a ride from there, bring it in, clean it up. We'll let you use the facility and help you with whatever problems. And along with that, we also have a large showroom. We have a lot of inventory. We have over 120 bikes on display in the showroom. So you can come in, you can find the bike. We will help you find the bike that fits you, fits your situation, and get you going. And if we don't have it there in stock, we'll order it for you. And the bike industry has, during COVID, every single bike in the world was bought. And it was no inventory. Like it was months and months and months, and you couldn't find anything. And now the supply chain is straightened back up. You can get bikes, you can get parts, and we hope to be a part of help provide that for the community. So that being said, that's our business story, and like I said, we're excited to be here. And please ask all the questions because Seth will be able to answer them.
Well, thank you guys so much. Well, if our founders want to come up and join us here, I'll ask you guys, we can ask some questions here. Now you all get to be in the hot seat. You know, normally we have the max like 2 founders, but 4, I was like, well, if all 10 of them are here, we're just going to have a full classroom up here. Well, I mean, when I visited with your business a little bit, I mean, I was shocked to see how many people it took to get this business up and running. And you don't hear of a business with 10 founders very often. But Seth, I think you put it really well. We've got, you know, someone who can wear the business hat. We have someone who can wear the technical hat. We have just a need for every single person. But I'm sure that's been interesting to navigate. Can you walk me through what has that experience been like working as a team to get this business open?
One of the big benefits to it is everybody does have their own talent and brings that talent to the table, and we all know each other really well. We're all friends.
Yeah.
And actually, there is some family component to it. Seth and Ken and Steve are related. But it's been really nice because there's a shared load and a shared burden, and also that it builds camaraderie in the group. And so it's been really nice to have people working in their strengths because we all have something that the other guys like. All these guys are really smart. I'm not. They're carrying the load. You know, mechanic. Landy's a mechanic, and man, he makes the stuff look easy. I'm like, Landy, my bike's clicking. I can't figure out what it is. You know, he can fix it.
And fight fires.
Yeah, and fight fires. And so we all have other interests in other jobs, and so this has been a whole lot of fun because it is a shared burden, shared group, and so it's been a great experience.
Well, something that cannot be as great in Midland is finding real estate, finding a space that, okay, you've got enough foot traffic, it's big enough, it doesn't need as much construction. How was it finding that space off the loop?
Actually, the fact that there was not much commercial real estate available, when we started looking, there was about 3 spots we could put the bike shop. So
Wow.
It's like, you're going to get one of those or you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of challenging because when Banana Republic left, that space was just a shell. There was nothing built out in it. I mean, they took everything from the flooring up to the bathroom tap, you name it. It was just a shell. And
It's concrete.
It was, yeah, scorched earth. You know.
so we worked with Graco and got it built out and got open. And we had never been through that process. And we found out that it's painfully slow. And it's like, we work in the oil field. You get things done in the oil field. You don't wait on inspector permits and waiting for people to come and look at the same thing. It's like, oh my. So we learned a whole lot of patience there.
Yeah.
And the contractor told us, it's going to take this long. We're like, there's no way. That's forever. It's so simple. And you know what? You got done early. And I don't have any hair because I pulled it all out.
How many people can relate to that sentiment? Like, it's tough. It's tough. But you're on the other side now.
Yes.
On the other side. And something else, and you touched on this, I mean, I kept seeing the word community, and that seems to just be intentional, that you wanted this space to be community centered, but it's also a retail and a business and a bike shop. Why was that aspect important to you?
Because cycling is one of the sports activities. We are all better when we do it together because it's shared love. If you're the guy that's out front is, in cycling terms, fully and everybody else is sitting in the draft. It takes about half the work for the guy that's in second and third wheel than it does for the guys up front. So we're all better together because we're taking turns sharing that load. And just as a community, just everybody getting together and working hard, staying healthy, having something fun to do here in Midland, actually having some outdoor activities. And so we do group rides and stuff like that. So the community part of it was huge because you always hear there's nothing to do in Midland. Well, there is. There's a lot of stuff to do in Midland. And there's a lot of people with diverse interests, and there's actually a lot of really high level athletes here. So being able to help work in the community, foster the community, actually be engaged in helping get bike lanes, bike paths. Our kids need somewhere to ride, that they can do it safely. And we want to help foster that too. So we want to sell bikes. We hope we get to sell bikes because then we get to stay in business, but we want to actually help the community and help that grow.
There's a bigger picture there.
Yes.
It's also much safer as a group. So
No.
there's the whole safety part of it. That's why it's a big community push, because we're safer together. Visibility is low and traffic, everybody knows how traffic is. So when we ride together, we're safer.
Yeah. There's a lot of metaphors there. It's
The community feeling in the bike shop was something we wanted to build, not just be in the community, but it's a lot more fun to work in a business and be there day in and day out whenever somebody, you know the person coming in and you form a relationship with that person coming in.
Right.
Versus going into a big box store and it's just your customer number 6 today.
yeah.
That's not the feeling we want you to have whenever you come in. We want to have a conversation with you and we want to build a relationship with you so we can form bonds going forward. And if you come in for your second bike, we can help, or whatever questions you have. If you have an issue with your existing bike, do I even want to get a bike? Do I need socks? Do I need shoes? Whatever you want. We want to have a conversation with you on what's best for you.
Right.
And us being part of this community is what helps that.
Right.
You're not just a number whenever you come in the door. We want to help you and form a relationship with you going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Any other questions that you guys might have? Yes.
Is it okay if I asked how you financed the operation?
Well, part of the reason we have so many founders is everybody put capital in and we were able to start that way.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, and kind of another business question, but I mean, y'all have to have a lot of product on hand, and the supplier relationships are important. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you got that started and like what those arrangements are, like how you kind of manage that in terms of like keeping product on hand, and what kind of model that is with the supplier.
You're right. That has been complicated, and it's been a learning process for us. As Cliff said, we don't have retail backgrounds, so really it was a lot of hustle and kind of just beating the streets, trying to find who the point of contact was for this service line and that, and getting separate agreements with all those different product lines was pretty tedious, but we were able to pull it off, and it was kind of like, once you made contact with one rep, it's actually a pretty small community, and so they could kind of help you and point you in different directions to get to talk to the right people, and it was hard kind of getting over that initial hurdle because with Specialized, they're a global company, and they're very particular about who they do business with and who their local retailers are, and that's critical to their success. As a global company, they want to make sure that they're finding people that fit with what they're trying to accomplish. And so at first we kind of had to sell ourselves and sell our vision for what we were trying to accomplish, and get them to sort of buy into what we wanted to do. The other challenge we had, like Cliff said, it took us so long to get started. And, for them, when Peyton sold, they lost their retail space. And so there's, an entire region of Texas where they're not able to get their product out anymore. And so, they don't want to be left on the sidelines any longer than they have to. And so, we felt they were really gracious with us, but we felt a lot of pressure internally to get going because, we need them as much as they need us, and so we wanted to get started as fast as possible. But yeah, that was a complicated issue. I was actually, when we did the initial business model, I assumed that most of this product we would just have to pay for up front, and that it would be capital out, and then we would be holding it until we could sell it. And a lot of these companies actually have pretty accommodating terms to help small businesses hit sell through, so that you're not always having to put a bunch of capital outlay to keep your store fully stocked. And that's good for us. It's also good for the customer. Nobody wants to walk into a store that's half empty. It's just not a good feel, and it makes you kind of wonder, like, are these guys really going to be here to support me? Like, can I count on these guys? Like, what's going on here? And so that allows us to keep a fully stocked floor, and to manage the business a little bit better.
One, what you were saying about like keeping a lot of inventory in stock. That's something every small retail business has to walk that fine line of, I've got enough product for what the customer needs, so they don't have to go somewhere else to get it, but not being overstocked. And especially in a day and age where you can buy anything online, that window is getting smaller and smaller on having to walk that line. Again, we go back to the community. That's a big part of us being plugged into the community, talking to people all the time on kind of what they're wanting, what the new hot product coming out is, and things like that. It's incumbent upon us to stay plugged in and be able to fit our products in that shrinking window year in and year out. We're trying. I don't know, we're pretty new at this too. We'll see how well we do.
It is super easy to get online. In about 3 clicks, you can have a bike show up at your house. It's actually a really high quality bike.
Yep.
But you don't have that guy that can put it together and make it work exactly like it's supposed to for you. Or after you've been riding it, you're like, man, something doesn't sound right, and you can't figure it out. If you bought it online, there's not support there. Well, if you bought a bike online, bring it down, we'll fix it. We'd love to sell you a bike, but we're gonna help service whatever it is, because it's really odd in the cycling community, especially the more you get into it. It's like there's times where you need to talk to somebody because, like, there's something going on and you can't figure it out. You spent a whole lot of money on this bike, and you're like, it's making this funny little noise. Guys, I need to go. You're like, oh, it'll kind of drive you nuts, because sometimes it's not really straightforward what it is. And so we want to fill that niche where you can talk to somebody. And also, before you buy it, you can come put your hands on it. You can ride it, because it's really easy to buy the wrong one. And when you're sitting there looking at the computer screen, 3 clicks, it shows up, and you're like, there's nothing you can do about it.
When you're looking at the computer screen, you've got a picture of a beautiful bike or whatever the product is, and there's a big marketing headline above it, and it's going to make it sound like it is the best thing in the entire world. And it might be for that particular niche. But if that's not your niche, then that's not the bike you need, or shoes, or anything you're looking at. That's the benefit of going in and talking to a trusted expert. We get to ask you, what kind of riding do you want to do? Oh, I want a road bike. Oddly enough, if you're not in the bike world, there's about 4 different styles of road bikes out there. And we get to go down that road with you and figure out which one you'd probably be happiest with. Because we don't want to sell you a nice flashy bike and you get on it and you're like, man, this thing sucks. My back hurts. It's not what you wanted, you know what I mean? Like, if you're buying a car to drive across country, probably shouldn't buy a Ferrari. Probably not going to have a very good trip. It's going to be uncomfortable. It'd be cool, but you're not going to be very comfortable. Bikes are the same way. There's some Ferraris out there, but what if you'd be more comfortable on a station wagon? So we've got to figure that out with you. Some people need pickup trucks,
Well, speaking of figuring out, something that you guys touched on when I met with your business was marketing. It's just a different ball game, and it is ever changing. How has that been, dealing with the marketing aspect of starting a business?
Work with learning.
Learning.
Like, every time we have a meeting about marketing, we learn a few tips here and there, but it's different. It's all online, but I think the networking and doing stuff like this is still very important, because this is what builds the relationships. But the creativity of doing the stuff online is, I'm not a computer nerd. I can barely work a cell phone. I sure can't do fancy videos, things like that. But we're learning. We're getting there. But
That's Oscar.
Yeah, Oscar's good at making cool videos.
a little bit of Instagram and
Oh,
things
some
like that.
reels, some
That's kind of
TikToks.
what- yeah.
Wow. That
We're
is
kind of doing it
needed.
ourselves, and we do have a little help from outside to make some videos. So.
And your logo too, right? Was it one of your founders or a friend that created the logo?
Yeah.
Oscar.
No, we outsourced it to get it created, but we all kind of came in and collaborated on the idea. So.
And the name and everything too. It all just kind of fell into place how it was supposed to. Any other questions?
So there's 10 of you that are working on the board, basically manage it. How do you train your employees on the front side for sales and stuff? I know that you guys are, I mean, are y'all doing the rotation in there? Are y'all training up the next generation kind of?
So, of all of the partners, I'm the only one that actually is in the shop. And there's a lot of them are involved. Like these guys have been critical in the background, and some in the store too. But I'm there 3 to 4 days a week, helping out. We've got a great manager that we brought on, and we've got an assistant manager that we've got on that are all excellent. And they've really, and we have 3 high school kids that we hired that are there part time, and both of them have taken a huge ownership role in bringing the high school kids, our high school kids along to get them up to speed on how to talk to customers, how to work on bikes, but that comes along, but really how to talk to customers and build a relationship with the customer instead of just saying, okay, you need a tube, cool, here's a tube, goodbye, thank you. I mean, it's a real thing. I mean, teenagers, it's some of you in this room have teenagers. It's different to get them to have a conversation with somebody, but it's been a group effort with myself and our manager and our assistant manager to get them up to speed. And our group inside the shop is no different than our ownership group. We've all got strengths and weaknesses, and we're kind of learning from each other inside the store at the same time. So as far as a plan on paper on how to train them, we're kind of just going.
Our manager, Isaac, he came from a retail background, so he actually understood the retail business probably better than we did. And then Blake Morgan, he's our assistant manager. He worked at Buffalo Burst, and he spent 6 years with them, so he had some bike shop experience. So it was a nice blend, And Landy coaches them through that, and then the mechanic side of it also.
We've been very, we talked about it multiple times through this journey. We've been very blessed on how many different people we have involved and how smooth this has gone. I mean, I'm sure y'all have all been in board meetings or something like that when there's a lot of different personalities in the room and things can go sideways really quick. This has gone, I mean, it's kind of crazy how smooth everything's gone. We all get along really well. We've had disagreements, but we
still like each other.
Yeah, we still like each other. We've been very blessed with how smooth this has gone with this many personalities. And once we got open, we're like, all right, how are these personalities going to actually work together now that we're actually going? And it's been really cool to see how everything's meshed together and how well everybody gets along.
I think the 2 things that have helped us overcome some of those challenges is, one, we're governed by our purpose statement, and we're all in agreement in where we're trying to take this. And so as long as you can keep that purpose statement above yourself, then you can get past really any kind of disagreement you have within your management team or your ownership.
What is that purpose statement?
There it is right there. And Cliff really, he emphasized the importance of community, but it's about how we treat people when they come into the shop. And I think that we all want to make sure that when someone comes in the doors, they have the best possible experience they can have. And that may not result in a sale, but it helps us foster what we're trying to do in creating community, and that's more important to us ultimately. Like Cliff said, we have to sell bikes to stay in business, but that's just a means to an end for us. We really do want this to be a benefit to the community, and for people to be able to develop meaningful relationships and find some community in that pursuit of a healthy lifestyle. And we just think that that's a great benefit to people. The second thing I think that was very helpful for us is the ability to be completely equity backed and not have to take out any debt to start the business. And that has helped us think differently about different things, and I think helped us also to be able to focus on that purpose statement without worrying about how we're going to keep the lights on up front. So that's been a benefit too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Are
Yes.
you all planning to stay local, or are you wanting to expand nationally, globally?
Right now, we're planning on staying local.
Yes.
We're planning on staying open. That's what we're
It's been what, like a month?
No plans to
Officially? A little over a month.
Yeah.
I mean, if this thing goes gangbusters and we're killing it in 5-10 years, we haven't even discussed even opening a second location here in the Permian Basin, much less going outside of here.
Well, branding wise too, we would have been pretty short-sighted to call it Energy City Bikes.
I don't think so.
Really?
I really like that. Have you trademarked it?
Literally
everywhere in
we
Texas.
actually, yes, we do have the,
Copyright.
we have the copyright. As far as trademarking though, that's a good question, actually. I think we probably need to look into that. We have
Yeah.
not done that.
I'm just a
I
little
have someone
bit.
that can
Actually,
help
not
us
this
out.
Do you?
expensive.
Okay.
And they're a cyclist.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a
wow.
Dallas, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, one more question here from the audience. Anybody? Well, yes.
No, I know you guys said, doing like community based, and I love what you guys are doing. You mentioned like some bike rides leaving from y'all shop. Is there plans in '24 for like maybe like bike 101, how to, get your kids learned up how to ride for that next generation? I mean, I would love to see that, or maybe even someone just getting started at a later age that wants to learn how to ride a bike, or some kind of, I guess, like 101 classes or something like that.
Something we are planning for 24, when days get longer and warms back up, is we're gonna call it a slow ride. Because every Wednesday, if you all don't know it, every Wednesday the cycling community meets up and we kind of have our little local group ride, race, whatever you want to call it. And, but if you're a new cyclist and new to the sport, it's intimidating. You don't know what to wear, you don't know how to act, you know how all this stuff. Well, we're gonna have a slow ride. And anybody can come with any bike and whatever you want, but it's kind of an introduction into cycling. And we're not gonna go fast and we're not gonna go far. We're all gonna ride together and teach people how to ride as a group, and it's gonna be fun. So.
On the kids aspect, yes, we do want to put on. I don't know if anybody in this room's ever been involved with like a bike rodeo for kids. We do want to put on some bike rodeos. If you've never seen one, it's do some advertising. You usually get a bunch of helmets to give away to kids that don't have helmets. You have them come through. If there's something wrong with their bike, fix it real quick, get it rideable, and there's like a quick obstacle course. It's just kind of a fun deal. There's some breakfast out there, that kind of thing. And we'll do some helmet giveaways, things like that. We do want to do that, but again, that'd be spring. Our goal initially was to let's get off the ground, and we had hoped to initially do something this fall, and then the build out and all that. I think we were a little ambitious on the timeline on that. So now we're readjusting some of those, but we do want to be very involved. I've in my 20-something years in doing bikes in Midland, I've been involved with a lot of the bike rodeos over the last couple of decades, and they're super fun. There is nothing more rewarding than seeing a kid take his training wheels off for the first time and push them down the road, and you see that excitement on their face. So the bike rodeos are super fun, and that's something we want to be a part of. We do want to put on maybe some mountain bike clinics, some beginner clinics, some mechanic 101s, things like that, to let people come get their hands dirty, get some skin in the game. So yeah, we're going to look into that in 2024 for sure.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. You'll have to keep us all posted on all of that. My final question here, and we really appreciate your time. If you could sum up in one word what each of you have learned from this experience of starting a business, collaborating with a team, what would that one word be? And we'll start with you, Seth.
Oh shoot, I'm not a quick thinker.
And if one word's too hard, a sentence, whatever it might be.
I think for me, I would have to say team. There's no way that we would have made it to where we are today without all of us pulling together, and there's no way that we're going to get where we want to try and go without that continuing.
Yeah. Great answer for on the spot. Well done.
Mine's follow through. I lack follow. So this is being part of a team. You don't want to let your team down. So it's made me push through on some stuff that I probably would have dropped the ball on a lot of it. So it's made me push through and have some follow through. And if I didn't, these guys have follow through. So yeah, it's made me work on that.
That's great.
For me, it's patience. From the time we sat down and started talking about, hey, we think there's an opportunity. This sounds like fun. We have certain parameters. If we meet this or this happens, then we should move forward. If it doesn't, then we shouldn't do it. And being patient and holding true to those markers that you set for your business and for yourself, and don't force it. Because so many times a little bit of patience is going to help you get there. It's probably going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you force it, you're not going to like that.
Yeah. Great answer.
Mine's going to be trust. Going into business with people that you trust, because I trust these guys a lot, and it just makes it easy.
Yeah. Well said. Well, thank you guys so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Well, thank you again for presenting, and we have more mugs for you guys, but in the meantime, here's just this one. You can keep this in your community corner there.
There we go. Awesome.
Yes, well, thanks you guys. We really appreciate it.
Who's the best cyclist?
Oh, yes, Chris.
One of those two.
A humble group
He draws
here.
power from his
Anybody who's out in the hall, you're welcome to come in here. I know it's a little snug. We were in that space where we were having coffee earlier. Okay. So, as long as you can hear. Awesome. All right, well, you are about to hear from our second business here, and we'll jump in just to be mindful of everyone's time. Started by Jessica McCoy, Head Above Water is known for its effective and efficient water safety education and competitive swimming coaching. Head Above Water Midland, it customizes water safety and technique curriculum to the individual student using evidence-based practices to reach the goals of the student or the parent. So it reduces the total cost and time commitment spent in swim lessons. So Head Above Water produces equipped and empowered swimmers that enjoy the confidence they've grown in their lessons. Looking ahead in the partnership with RWA, Head Above Water will be building a space that will allow for their programming to expand. Currently serving more than 248 families within their 7-month season, Head Above Water Midland looks to expand their reach to better serve the Midland community with this expansion. Jessica?
Thanks. Made me sound so good. Okay, well, I'm a coach at heart, so I'm gonna be a little bit different than you guys, I guess. But so my company is Head Above Water Midland. I have a 7-month season that I start in March and end at the end of October. I have worked with close to now, over the 5 years of being here in Midland, over 497 families, doing around, averaging anywhere from my first year of 700 swim lessons to where we're averaging now, which is around 1,700 swim lessons in a 7-month period. Now you're probably wondering, how? Good question. I don't have a life. I wish I was kidding, but I'm sure a lot of y'all understand what that's like being self-employed. So my business is all about really empowering people to be confident in and out of the water. Like I said, I'm a coach at heart. For me, it's more than just swim lessons. It's more about instilling the confidence, because I believe that sports can really transform your life. I swam in college at SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, where I was a scholarship athlete, and right now I'm getting my Master's of Education at the University of Texas in sports management. I will be then pursuing my PhD in sports management at UT with the idea of creating additional curriculum to inform coaches on abusive practices that they need to avoid. My biggest, what wakes me up in the morning is truly trying to reduce mental abuse in youth athletes. If you've ever known a student athlete, I think Dak Prescott's an excellent example. I know a lot of people have issues with the Cowboys, but, my husband went to the game this last weekend. I was proud of that. But I think Dak Prescott really did open up a lot of conversations for the professional athlete space in what being an athlete means and what that looks like on the day-to-day basis. Now, a lot of people, what they don't understand is that these struggles start when these kids start learning the sport. It's not you get to college and then all of a sudden there's so much pressure. I think from an outside observer, a lot of people assume that, oh, well, college athletics is stressful. It's really not. It starts at the very beginning because every parent wants their kid, I don't know about West Texas football, but everyone wants their kid to be that college athlete for the most part. I think a lot of parents think that. I see it in swimming, believe it or not. So what I like to do is I like to really customize the swim lesson experience, knowing that parents are going to come in with a set expectation for their child. I work with adults too, which is also one of the most touching aspects of my job personally. Like Sammy was saying, I am expanding. I'm creating a new natatorium. I just purchased my first commercial property, 2 different lots that were getting replatted. It's right across the street from Midland High School. Actually bought it from Courtney Luma, who owns the Midland Birth Center, and which is really cool. But we're going to build an indoor natatorium. It's going to be hopefully very West Texas centered. And I would say the biggest influence for my success in my business has for sure knowing my weaknesses. I have 2 learning disabilities, and I think that is the biggest thing that's influenced how I view the world. I understand where I'm really not good at, and I understand what I really am good at. And I think delegation is the strongest aspect of my business. I also think that when you're a business owner, you really have to understand what type of business owner philosophy are you going to take. Are you going to be more of the risk averse, or are you going to be more of the, throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks? That's me. I try to see what works, and I don't really subscribe to the whole idea of making my business plan about what I want. My business plan has changed and moved along with what my customers want. I don't view me as someone that is trying to push an ideology as much as I think I have a core philosophy, but I create all my lesson structures are based off of what my customers want. So I'm excited to share with you guys what we have coming up, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So
awesome. Great.
Thanks.
Well, if you want to take a seat here.
Thanks.
Well, Jessica, when I met with you, I was just shocked. I mean, yes, you hear, okay, Midland has the median age of 31, and our biggest demographic is younger than 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And then you told me just how many lessons you give in a single year. And initially, I'm going to be honest with you, I was like, I'm having a business meeting with someone who teaches swim lessons.
I know.
This seems interesting.
Like a joke. Yeah, I know. I get that a lot.
And then I heard how many swim lessons you were giving.
Believe it or not, I get that a lot. So I think when you first look at me, you're like, oh my gosh, how cute. You teach swim lessons. I get that a lot, and I understand. And then they figure out that I was a college athlete and that I have literally dedicated my life to this. This business was created after a board meeting that I went to. I'm on the Letterman's Association board at SMU, and I have been for 8 years. And the, infamous 1980s scandal of when we were in the Southwest Conference and, there was a Cadillac or a Pontiac that was, bribed, and now the NIL is, prevalent. But that whole team of guys actually pulled me aside and they said, why aren't you doing this, full time? Why aren't you coaching? Because, you are very much a coach. And it was actually up to them that I can blame my Letterman board for starting this business. And I had my 3-month-old son in a little carrier when I created my Instagram for this business. And now I have 2 kids, and that's...
And how many lessons a year would you say?
Well...
Or even just a week, how many lessons?
Oh, well, I work 8 a.m. to 6:30, and I have a 20-minute lunch.
One lesson after the next.
Yeah. 20-minute lessons, I don't stop.
Wow.
So, I wouldn't recommend it for your mental health. I spend a lot of money taking care of me, physically, mentally. I go to counseling every week. I seek help, physically. I go to Pilates every single day. I am the brand, and I understand that. I hate to say that out loud because it seems a little bit cheesy to say out loud, but I am a machine, and I'm very much a college athlete in the sense that my entire life is dedicated to this business. And I don't think it's for everybody. I think that it takes a certain type of person to be able to dedicate your entire life to something, which is why we're all here, right? In some aspect of your life, you're really dedicating a lot to what you do.
Right.
But I run like a machine, and I think that that there's definitely a lot of cons to that. I spend a lot of money on my childcare. I spend a lot of money on taking care of myself, because if I'm not the one that's producing, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
But I'm also good at delegating too. My marketing, like y'all were talking about marketing, I have hired a marketing person and I spend a lot of money with them and I have no regrets. So, like my attorney, he does his job. My accountant does his job. I understand my limitations.
Right.
Because ultimately, this is what I want to do.
Right.
So,
Does anyone have any questions for Jessica here? Yes.
Yeah.
Management, do you use any kind of special software or anything like that to keep up?
yeah,
with
good question. For like just like
Scheduling?
and stuff. So my website was actually created by Heidi Winkler Design, and it's now managed by Hancock Advertising. Has been now for 3 years. I use a booking system, much like you would booking like a hair salon appointment. You get a text message reminder, an email reminder. You also have a calendar of when all of your lessons take place. Something that sets me apart from, like, let's say COM, is that everything is customized to the child. So I am able, because of my experience, I've been doing this since I was 13. This is the second iteration of my business. And so you get customized homework videos that we send out to our customers. And then there's a library. So if you want to practice the things that your child learns in some lessons, you can do that by referencing on our website. So it's all through here, which is really great.
Yeah, that makes it easier. And something, so, I mean, this kind of came up naturally for you. You were a college athlete, the swim lessons, there's a huge need for that.
Yes.
Something else that you touched on was how you give lessons to all types of kids.
Yes.
Wherever they land on the spectrum. And how has that come up in your
Yeah,
business?
so having 2 learning disabilities has completely changed how I view the world. I don't assume that everyone learns the same. What I look at the kid, I look at the individual goals of the parent, and then I like to manage expectations. I work with kids that are anywhere from on the autism spectrum to having heart malformations to having physical limitations to what they can do. Everyone can swim, and it's not my job to make them do it in the way that I want them to. I'm a very client-centered business in the sense that I am not like the main boss. My customers are my boss. And sometimes that looks like a 2-year-old. So either mentally or figuratively, no, I'm kidding. But, it's all about accommodations. And I understand that intimately, being a disabled person myself. I know that I don't look like somebody who has a disability, but I do. And I'm severely disabled in dyslexia and dyscalculia. So in knowing that, a lot of people don't understand about dyslexia is that we're very top-down centered thinkers. So I like to view it like, what's the big picture here? So that's where my coaching style comes into, and that's how I manage my business. What is the overall arching goal of my customer base? Like, what are we wanting to do, and what is the lasting impact of Head Above Water Midland? And then it just I break it down by goal in order to really accomplish the goals of my customers.
And so now that you've been doing this for a few years, and I think at the beginning it was like, all right, we'll just, like you said, throw spaghetti and see what sticks.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it was, wow, people are really sticking to this.
Yes.
People are very interested in something like this. And then it got to the point of we need an additional space. How has that experience been? Where are you at in that process?
So, like I said earlier, delegation is my biggest thing. I hired Kale Lancaster at RWA Architects, and I was just like, they were customers of mine. And there's actually about 5 people in that office that have worked with me. So they understand what my goals are, what my philosophies are. And I'm really big on creating spaces that emote emotions and bring out emotions from you, because like it or not, kids are impacted by light, sound, wind. I work outside all day long, and so I can see how the wind and the light can affect kids, especially with the heat, right? So we're creating a space that's really going to help with that and take that into consideration so that it's a calm space. But it's been difficult. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I am very much the throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. My husband randomly went on Zillow and was like, what do you think about this property? We should buy it. And then we put a contract on it the next day.
And now where are you at in that
And
process?
we closed on it and we're replatting on it's two different lots. So
Okay.
we're in the process of replatting and then we're going to start the permitting process in January. So
And so how do you plan for, okay, now we'll be able to be a 12-month a year operation. Are you planning on growing your team?
Yes. I don't know if my attorney's going to like me saying this, but I like to really focus on parents and specifically moms that I like to work with. My goal is to hire moms because I can teach anybody to coach, but what I can't do is I can't teach you how to read a child. I need you to be able to understand if that child is scared. I can't teach that.
Yeah.
So I'm wanting to hire a lot of moms to be able to provide more workforce equity. And my goal, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish this, is to be able to provide childcare because that is really what the full circle moment is for working parents. There's a lot of people, I'm sure you know, like even if you're front-facing customer service-based business, that finding childcare is so difficult here in town. My mother is my nanny. She's on my payroll. So, like, I'm not kidding. Like, I treat her like a actual employee, and I'm lucky to have that. But I want to be able, yeah, and I want to be able to provide that. I want to be able to provide a pipeline for women here in town that would love to work, but can't afford to do so.
Right.
So, I mean, we just saw like the average household income just bumped up, I think, by $30,000 here in Midland, Texas. But the problem is if you're a husband and wife and you have 3 kids, you're paying close to $5,000 in childcare every month. That's a lot of money. So my goal is to be able to change my business unit so that we can hire more people. I would love to hire moms. And then to be able to provide a little bit more of a wider range of services, because right now I'm highly specialized. I work with children who have disabilities, learning, cognitive, physical disabilities. I work with pre-competitive swimming, adults who want to learn how to swim, adult trauma and kid trauma, like if you've experienced drowning or you've had a really traumatic swim lesson experience. And I know the word traumatic is like kind of like annoying word for some people, but it's true. There's a lot of people that really struggle with past swim lesson experiences. So I'm very highly specialized right now, but once we get our new facility, I'm going to make it more like a little bit more accessible for more families, which means price reduction. I'm very expensive right now, and I've had to be because this is a completely cash flow business.
Yeah.
So I have no debt, thank goodness.
That makes things easier. That keeps your head above water.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Angel.
Oh, just I'm Angel with the
Hi.
Entrepreneurial Center.
Hi.
I love what you said about the business plan and it's fluid, right? And you know, it's something
No pun intended.
No,
Right?
no. But it's something that I, talk to my clients about constantly because when we put together a business plan, we're using the business model methodology. But that's a breathing, living document. It's continuous, right? So we constantly have to reapply and revisit it. It's not set in stone. So can you talk a little bit about that journey that you started with and then now where you're at?
I think that's a great question. Understanding what your business purpose is and what your business plan is. Your question was how do we address that? How do you change that mentality? I'm married to an engineer. Let me just explain that to you. And I'm very much the opposite of him. I have a degree in sociology and English, so very liberal arts minded. So my husband, I have to explain this to him a lot. And my business manager is a former banker at Wells Fargo. She's also my mother-in-law. So it's very tight. I have to explain to them a lot that it's not about me. It's not. My mother was a vice president of Greater Texas Landscapes, which sold to Brightview Landscaping, which is a huge national company now. But she told me that it has nothing to do with you. When you show up at work, you do not matter. You are a vessel to create change for your customer. So I have a previous experience working for Highland Park United Methodist Church as a pastor for 2 years. And I learned that as well. Servitude, leadership is the biggest thing for me. So I just adopt that in my business plan. If my way of teaching or my way of running my business is no longer serving the demographic that I'm needing to, keep the lights on with, then something about me needs to change. So it's difficult. Like, it's a difficult line to like ride if you're like the front facing brand, as much as how cheesy that sounds. But you really do have to adopt a mental change on how you're viewing your role as a business owner. It's not an ego trip.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
It's not. And like, if you're in it to like, I'm the best, like, you're not going to make any money.
100%.
Because if I weren't showing up to work and looking at a kid or looking at an adult who is terrified of putting their face underwater, that is the most vulnerable thing that somebody can do, is share their child with me so that I can teach their child how to save their life. Or like an adult coming to me, it takes a lot of guts as an adult to say that I don't know this and it makes me really insecure. Who am I to say, oh, no, I don't do that because it doesn't make me money? You can't do that. You got to show up and just be the vessel for what your customer needs that day. So, yeah, sorry. It was a little preachy. My bad, yeah.
Do you mainly focus on private? Do you do group as
Yep.
well? And do you
Great
do
question.
branding, like swimsuits that fit so your kids aren't picking wedgies out, they're warmer?
Loaded question. I love it. Okay, so your question was, do I do private group and how am I, and what other outside branding opportunities am I taking advantage of? Love that question. I only do private lessons specifically because of the data. Private lessons are statistically less at risk for drowning incidences. Group lessons are statistically proven to, like, we can go into the nerdy aspect of that. I'm big on data and research, but group lessons are dangerous, especially if you have a high school student teaching it. They don't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, come on, we were all high school students. The level of attention to detail that you have to pay attention to when you're working with any age of child is essential to their safety, right? Right now we're only doing private lessons, and I am moving to an experimental thing this next year where I'm trying to see if that maybe if I can train my kids, like the ones that are like on the outskirts of my business unit where like they've already graduated the water safety aspect and they want to just get some refreshers. We're going to work on that this year to try and flesh that out a little bit. But I know it's my curriculum, so I kind of trust it. But we're going to see how that works. But right now it's at a very limited capacity. As for branding, I have a lot of my old teammates that actually own their own swim products now, so they usually just send me stuff for free, which I take full advantage of.
Because why wouldn't you, right?
Yes, but I'm not investing any money in it right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So your self-awareness and self-branding is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you come about developing that? Do you have resources
Good question.
or what classes or training? Or is that all from coaching and swimming?
That's a good question. My self-awareness is because my biggest, like I said earlier, like my biggest thing that wakes me up in the morning is to prevent coaching abuse. I swam for the University of Texas club team, and it was exceptional. I mean, I have a national record, relay record, top 16, placed top 16 probably for the 5 years of my career. So I understand that level that you have to go to in your mind, but unfortunately, back when we were all growing up, I'm sure you understand that back a couple of years ago, even maybe just 5 years ago, that toxic coaching culture is what really shaped that level of success. So I know that I don't want to be like that, so I have taken the initiative to go to therapy to try and work on that. Trying to understand my weaknesses, what my personality is like, how I can rub people the wrong way has been really helpful too. And I do take a lot of initiative, like the Harvard Harvard Business Review has an emotional intelligence book that's exceptional. And if you're a student too, you can actually get that at a reduced cost. I also listen to a lot of podcasts, Think Fast or
I love that one.
Think Fast, Talk Slow.
Think Fast.
By Stanford.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stanford.
And SMU's, my professors at SMU, I have a really close relationship with. My entire business plan I had vetted by the Cox School of Business. They provide a lot of alumni opportunities, which I know is a privilege. To be able to take advantage of that. But also, my mom is like straight off the boat Lithuanian, which is what she says. So there's a lot of this Eastern Europe mentality inside of me that it is my responsibility to work, and I do not I don't expect anything from anybody. So it might be a conglomerate of all of those things. So.
Thank you.
We had another question back there. Yes.
Are y'all doing like survival swim school too?
Ooh.
And whatnot? I don't know. You know, you said traumatic
Oh, yeah.
lessons, so
Oh, yes.
I don't know if there's.
I do not support ISR franchise.
And I didn't know if there's a better way. Now, I'm not versed in any of this.
No, it's okay. Most people aren't.
So I don't know. I've got a 2-year-old and I have a 4-year-old. My 4-year-old went through not super intense survival training.
Yeah.
But we were at the lake a lot back then, so we were very nervous about it.
Yes.
He still loves water. He still loves going to swim lessons.
Yes.
So luckily, I think we made it out okay.
Yes.
Is there a better option for that?
Yes. So please hear me. When I say this, please hear me that I'm not shaming your parent decisions. I'm huge into, like I said, not my job to like enforce like what I believe onto you, but I can provide recommendations. ISR is a franchise much like Chick-fil-A, any other franchise business unit, right? But unfortunately, it's become sensationalized, so much so that there's been a lot of people that have claimed to be survival swim schools, but they're not. It's just like Chick-fil-A. You can't sell Chick-fil-A sauce without the franchise, right? So I don't think it's productive. I've worked with children who have done the actual ISR franchise, and I have not seen the results that justify the investment.
So what's your advice for, like, my 2-year-old has not done any swim lessons?
Yeah. Work with me.
I knew that was coming.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
mean, that's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
Looking at swim lessons for him this year.
for sure. All jokes aside, I think what you need to be looking for is a swim program that shows that they have insurance. Okay? In the state of Texas, you do not have to be licensed to teach swim lessons. You also don't need to have CPR certifications. You also do not have to have a background check or sexual abuse training to coach swim lessons. Okay? I choose to recommend that you need to be working with somebody who has worked with USA Swimming in some capacity. COM and I are very tight. That is the only other program that I would recommend in town. There are other swim lesson programs here in town that I think are really great, but I am not familiar with what they are teaching. I don't understand like what they're teaching, because it's very much like teaching your kid to ride a bike. Anyone can teach their kid to ride a bike, you know? So if you can look at somebody who is able to prove their training, prove that they have insurance, and prove that they have experience, and look for reviews on Google, that's really great too.
Yeah. This will be our last question here, Ginger.
Oh, pressure. Last question. I do want to make a statement about how I appreciate your interest in mental health. I think that's a real important thing. I also appreciate Dak Prescott for highlighting those things. I think so many people have family that struggle in those areas, and I think sports can be a great way to work through a lot of those pressures. When you mentioned that you're looking to go on to get a doctorate and everything, are you thinking of adding an element to your business to where you will be able to provide maybe some sort of therapy type of,
good
not just in
question.
the water, but even kind of like outside of the water?
Yeah, so your question was, where do I see my business going with my PhD? So, you know, I don't know, it's because I view myself as a vessel. Like, weirdly enough, I'm adopted, so like, I personally view my life as like a bunch of experiences, and I'm just along for the ride. So, like, I have no control over what's going on in the world. I have no control of what I'm gonna see in 5 years, but what I can do is be open-hearted and open-minded about it. So, like, this whole PhD thing came on my lap because the director of my current master's degree program, I graduate in May, she said, what are you going to do after graduation? And I'm like, well, I own my own business. So, and I wrote my own curriculum. So it's a conglomerate of what USA Swimming is, YMCA, and also American Red Cross. So, and I just kind of took, you know, all of that and put it into my own curriculum. So what I want to do with my PhD is really talk to coaches, because like you said, like, our demographic here in Midland is 31. I'm 32. I just turned 32. So I'm in the thick of it, and I am taking a lot of notes and I'm taking a lot of data. Data is what helps me inform my business decisions and justify the changes that my customers want. When you apply for my wait list right there, we collect data, and I've been collecting data for 5 years on what my customers want, and then I look at it doing like data analysis on that. Like, I'm a huge nerd, so a jock and a nerd, I'm an oxymoron, just put in one person. Yeah. So like with that, like, you know, I know y'all, if y'all don't know, Ginger owns robotics. My son like loves y'all so much. But like, I would love to talk to coaches and write books and write articles and do research on what is actually preventing children who grow up to be college athletes on being healthy-minded athletes. That's what I care about. So, and it's been really interesting to learn about that in my program. And so I just want to write books and write articles and then have that inform my coaching.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much. There's a bigger picture there for sure. Let's give Jessica a round of applause.
Thank you.
Just a little mug.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And we want to get you guys out of here, but there were some really good nuggets of information here, and you're welcome to follow us on social media. We stream these meetings live, so if you want to go back and watch them, you're welcome to. Some future dates here. We will have our next meeting on January 10th. And again, if you are interested in sponsoring, volunteering, being a business presenter, we're looking for local businesses for that position. Please let us know. You can fill out those forms on our website. You're welcome to stick around, go back to the lounge, mingle, ask some of these founders if any of them are willing to stick around, questions. How do you do business in Midland? In-person networking is just very, very crucial. And so we hope you enjoyed today's meeting and there are some good takeaways. And we hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. We will see you in 2024.